Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome into the Run Your Day podcast. As always, Dan Hafner joining you here today, my friends. Got an interesting topic for you today. Today is this: dealing with disappointment. As always, thank you all for joining. Really appreciate you guys coming on here and listening. All right, so today, this is actually a story about what happened to me yesterday, and I thought it might be valuable for you guys to kind of learn a little bit about this situation and kind of take away what I learned from it. And at the same time, it's also kind of good for me to walk through this for myself. But basically, what the situation was I failed. Like I failed. I failed a client, a future client, prospective client. But yeah, I said I was going to do something. I agreed to it. I signed a contract for it, and I couldn't fulfill. Like, plain and simple, I just failed. Now, I will preface it with, this wasn't, this is kind of going to contradict what I'm saying later, but this really wasn't all my fault. Now, there were other factors, other people that were involved that did drop the ball for me that I was counting on. But ultimately, I take the responsibility for it, right? Like the buck stops with me. And basically, it was a situation at work where I agreed to work with a customer and then just basically couldn't come through. And really, the story that I ended up telling myself, right, and through in my head and what was happening was that I failed. I disappointed my client. Therefore, I disappointed myself. I was more disappointed in me than anyone could have possibly been disappointed in me. Like, even the person I failed wasn't as disappointed in me as I was disappointed in me, which is crazy. But I've always been a person. I've always been very, very hard on myself. I hold myself to a very, very high standard, right? And it's a blessing and a curse sometimes. But like, the story I told myself was that, like, I disappointed myself. I failed. I did not come through. I dropped the ball. Like, this was all on me. And I was so disappointed. I was so distraught. Like, I could not believe, because like, I'm wired for success. I hate to lose. Like, I hate it. And it's funny because I don't win that often, to tell you the truth. Like, that's a secret between you and I. I don't win in life that often. It's kind of crazy. Maybe that's the story I tell myself too, but that's why I'm so sick of it. Like, I'm so sick of losing that I just want to win so freaking bad. Like, I just want to annihilate every obstacle that is in my path. I got that hunger. I got that, just like, let's freaking go. Let's get this shit done. That's the kind of mentality I've adopted for myself, right? So that's why when I come up on these situations, I just beat myself up. Like, I just beat myself up more than anyone could ever possibly beat me up. Just like, down on myself, not paying attention, not giving it my all, not doing the things that I should be doing, and just dwelling on that loss, right? I mean, does this sound familiar? Does this sound like maybe something that you do? Maybe not to the extent that I do. I've never really seen anybody deal with disappointment the way I do. But maybe you do this to a lesser degree. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just don't take maybe you don't take responsibility for your failures. Maybe you don't do enough. Maybe you are harder on yourself. Maybe you start to realize, like, you know what? Like, yeah, I failed. Sucks, but yeah, I'll move on. Maybe you're not to the level of beating yourself up and dealing with disappointment that I am, but the lesson that I learned from all of this entire situation was this: it's not always your fault. It's not always your fault. Like, I know it sounds simple, and you were probably expecting something way bigger, but just stay with me here. There's external factors in this world. There just are. You can't expect perfection 100% of the time. You can't expect to win 100% of the time. A Hall of Fame baseball player fails 7 out of 10 times. And that's considered really, really good, right? And I know life's not baseball, but there's so many analogies when it comes to failing before you succeed, right? You hear all people talk about it, all the successful people, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, whoever you want to talk about. And there's this dichotomy that comes into play of, like, you have to grind for success. You have to want it. You have to push yourself so hard, but you have to be accepting of failure when it happens, because it's a sign that you're moving in the right direction. And when you start to actually hit failure, when you start to hit walls, it's really uncomforting. It's like dissettling. I guess dissettling, is that a word? Maybe not. Anyway, it's uncomfortable. And maybe it's just something that, I have to wrap my mind around, and maybe you already are there, but it's this disappointment factor, in this failure factor, that you have to be okay with. Like, you just have to be okay with, you are going to royally screw some shit up sometimes in your life. Whether it's a relationship, you say something at the really, really wrong time to someone that you really, really love, or, you manage to gain a lot of weight in your life, or you manage to hurt yourself in some kind of way, whether intentionally or unintentionally, whether you say something to a coworker or a boss at work, and you end up getting a performance review put on you, or you even get fired, or you quit a job that you really shouldn't have. We're all going to screw things up royally at some point in our lives. Like, we just will. But you have to remember that it's not always your fault. Sometimes there are just things that just aren't meant to be worked out that way. And that was kind of what I realized the more I sat back and rethought the situation that I was in. Like, the universe just conspired against me to make this not happen. Like, things started to go wrong, and I fixed them, and then they fell apart again, and then I fixed them again, and then they just fell apart right at the last second. Like, it just was not meant to be. And I truthfully did everything within my power that I could have done to make this work. I honestly, right hand on the Bible, did. Like, I truly gave it everything that I had, and to my good faith effort, I put forward. But it just didn't work out. It just didn't work out. And as long as you're out there doing the things you're supposed to do, you're being truthful, you're telling the truth, you're in integrity with yourself and with the situation that you are in, and you still fail, it's not always your fault. Maybe maybe part of it's on you. Maybe the bulk of it is on you, but it's not always all your fault. There can be external factors. There can be things that just go wrong. Like, it's a funny old saying, and it comes to mind right now. Shit happens. Like, it just does. Shit happens. And maybe that's what I should have titled the show. But the more you get to this place in life where you start to grow, and you start to expand, and you start to do different things, and you start to fail at them, you become okay. You become okay with, shit happens. That's just the way it goes sometimes. And maybe it's not the all-inspiring message that you were hoping to hear today. Maybe it is. I don't know. But this has been something that I've had to learn and deal with quite a bit, and I'm still a long way. I'm still a long way from being able to deal with it in a I should say a healthy manner. But that's what it's all about sometimes, right? Just figuring it out on your own, like just being out there in the mud, in the crap, and just getting dirt in your face and just figuring it out on your own, So, all right, my friends. Well, that's going to wrap up the show. It's not always your fault. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind today. Okay. All right. So that's going to be it. I'm signing off here. Dan Hafner. Make it a great rest of your day, my friends.
Thank you for listening to the Run Your Day podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, feel free to share today's show with friends and family. Until next time, have a great day.